SAP Live Access is an additional offering for SAP Learning Hub subscribers to provide time-based access to over 500 training systems. Access to the systems is provided through SAP Live Access portal. SAP Live Access provides anytime, on-demand access to live training systems for hands-on practice. This environment is exclusively available for subscribers of SAP Learning Hub. Learners can purchase 20 hours of access to our pre-configured training systems and can complete exercises described in our course handbooks or use the systems for exploration on their own. This allows SAP Learning Hub subscribers to follow the exercises in the course manuals in the SAP Learning Hub in the same way as they would do as if they were in an instructor-led classroom course, allowing them hands-on practical experience in a live SAP system. Here are some screenshots that highlight some of the functions we've just discussed. You can zoom in to see things like ease of use on the home page, learning journeys, learning rooms, and the course catalog. So you can share this with your customer once you share the presentation with them after you've done the presentation and the demonstration with the customer. It'll help them to remember some of what they have seen. On this slide, you can see that we have public cloud versions and private cloud versions, and we have different editions. So let's talk about these. There are different commercial editions of the SAP Learning Hub. We also use Learning Hub for a lot of other uses within the SAP and within the SAP ecosystem. But let's have a look at the commercially available ones. First of all, Professional Edition. These are aimed at SAP professionals, either in the partner ecosystem or at our customers. This edition is relevant for consultants and project team members at the customer. By project team members, we mean anyone involved in the project from design through implementation and support, including the ongoing improvements and changes that happen and are driven through this Center of Excellence and support. This edition is also relevant for anyone wanting to learn about the configuration or wanting to take certification in any one of the SAP solutions. The Business Edition, this is aimed at end users and key users really. This content includes basic project team courses plus end user dedicated titles. Student Edition, aimed at students in higher education, it contains a subset of the Professional Edition content focusing on some of the core certifications. All three editions are available as public and private cloud versions, subject of course to a minimum subscription level if they want to have a private cloud version. The solution editions of SAP Learning Hub are the fastest route to solution-specific enablement, and we've covered these before. For example, S4HANA, digital platforms, procurement and networks, analytics, customer experience, Internet of Things and digital supply chain, people engagement, and finance. What we've seen up to now refers to both the public and the private cloud versions of SAP Learning Hub. But let's look at the additional features for the private cloud version, which is applicable only to large deals. I've mentioned some of these features throughout the presentation, but let's focus on them right now. With SAP Learning Hub Private Cloud version, customers can customize their learning environments. In other words, their own logos and their own colors. They can add their own content, create their own curricula, and exercise learning management system functions. They can access single sign-on functionality. In this case, an additional fee does apply. Customers can also set up their own SAP Learning Room based on the standard template for SAP Learning Rooms. This learning room will be private and accessible only for room members and not open to other SAP Learning Hub users. With the private cloud version, companies are able to produce and create their own learning content and upload it into their own private SAP Learning Hub environments through our content uploading service. Customers can create and include role-specific training content for any user. They can also create their own curriculums by mixing standard SAP learning content with their own content to create learning paths for their own users. With the SAP Learning Hub Private Cloud version, learning managers can access additional reports such as learning history, displaying all courses marked complete within the SAP Learning Hub. Online item status, to gain visibility into courses listed in training plans, the number of times they are opened, and the length of each learning session. Curriculum status summary, to understand each learner's progress on the various curriculums in which they are engaged. User login, view who has logged into the system in the last 24 hours, for example. We also provide consulting services for SAP Learning Hub. So the user mapping service that we provide is to produce a learning path for the users of Learning Hub, and there's basically three parts to this. I'm going to start off with the scope of the initial call, the scoping part of it. So it starts with a conference call between SAP and the customer sponsors to identify the stakeholders to be interviewed, managers, team leaders, supervisors. Set the dates for a 1-hour learning needs analysis meeting with these key stakeholders. Meeting scheduled with key stakeholders to work collaboratively to obtain a high-level view of existing and future business requirements. And current status of SAP knowledge levels within the team and the required knowledge levels. So that's basically the initial call. Then moves on to the performing the interviews, and here we conduct interviews with team leads or individuals. Maximum of 8 interviews per day, 1 hour per interview to produce the outputs, minimum of 1 day for this service. The playback, the learning paths, a presentation summarizing SAP's understanding of, first of all, the current knowledge level of the given audience, the customer's business vision and goals for the future and how learning aligns with these based on the initial scoping call, a recommended holistic learning approach, and the learning needs analysis results for sign-off by key stakeholders. The final spreadsheet provides a breakdown of audience by name, by role, and so on to be decided with the customer, and the recommended learning path, in other words, which courses should be taken and in what order. Which specific SAP Learning Hub activities to undertake, listing Learning Hub titles, online knowledge products, relevant learning rooms, certification paths, etc. for each one of the roles or one of the individuals. As an optional activity, only relevant if customers have a private version of SAP Learning Hub, we can create specific curricula representing the learning paths in the Learning Hub, and we can map the users to the specific learning in their learning map within the private cloud version of SAP Learning Hub. Pricing. So here we have the euro pricing. Okay, so first of all, SAP Learning Hub and Live Access pricing is tiered depending on the volume of subscriptions procured. Please note that all pricing should be obtained via the cloud quotations process, as all currencies other than euro are derived from the euro price using an exchange rate and therefore will vary throughout the course of the year. All subscriptions are a minimum and are in multiples of 12 months. If additional subscriptions are procured subsequent to the initial purchase, SAP will match the finish dates and pro-rata the costs of the initial license based on whichever tier and total volume that it now falls into. So while this presentation just gives you an internal view and a guideline, you need to always price using the standard tools that are available to you. This is not for you to use for pricing for a customer. So where do you get additional information? Here are some of the links you can use once you get a copy of this presentation. Summary, and of course with a customer, also next steps, very important. With SAP Learning Hub, our customers can enjoy significant cost reduction per learner. I think we've explained that. Can take advantage of a simplified purchasing process that requires only one transaction a year, no scheduling, no cancellations. Bring the knowledge to your project team and others up to date, and keep them up to date on all SAP topics with content that is continuously updated in the cloud, supported by SAP Live Access training systems. Accelerate your ability to adopt our innovation by enabling your team to learn ahead and to explore new systems. Empower your employees to successfully perform the vital role of planning, implementing, maintaining, and updating your systems. Well-deployed and run systems will support high user productivity and adoption. So please check that you've achieved the learning objectives that we discussed and set out at the beginning of this course. Thank you for attending today's session on SAP Learning Hub, and happy selling. Goodbye.